All right, everyone. I think we're live. This is Romancing the Stones. I'm Woodrow. I'm joined by Lorianne, and
Hello.
we've got a real treat. We've got, at the very least, we're going to show the semifinals of our middle school league. Lorianne, why don't you tell them why we're not sure if we're going to be able to show them the finals tonight?
Sure. So Masayuki Higashi is our only Japanese player who is in Japan, and he has been kind enough to work with American players to play in multiple Romancing the Stones leagues. But obviously, the time over in Japan right now is what it's like. I don't even know, like early in the morning or something. So this match is pre-recorded, and if he wins and goes on to the finals, well, then we'll have to show the finals at a later date. But if he loses, then Mike Clements will play in the finals, and we do not know the outcome of this match.
That's right. It is a complete secret to us, our commentators. So we'll be just as shocked as you by the surprises in the match. And let's start talking about those surprises now. What are our two deck lists here? Uh, Go ahead.
Yes, yeah. So Massa is on a replenish blue white replenish, which I think he's played in every league. It's mostly or completely foiled out. It's pretty amazing to behold. But the basic idea behind this deck is to play draw and discard spells like Frantic Search, Attunement, Strategic Planning, get a bunch of enchantments like Opalescence, Parallax Wave, Parallax Tide in the graveyard, replenish them all back out, do really busted stuff, take the opponents, all of their lands, remove all their creatures, and then beat down with the enchantment creatures that Opalescence turns on.
Uh,
Yep.
yeah, his deck's got some wild stuff going on. There's also Decree of Silence. So if he gets Decree of Silence
So
and played,
sweet.
the next three spells your opponent plays are going to be countered. And then the Opalescence makes it like an 8/8 creature, which is pretty insane. And then he's got four main deck Seal of Cleansings. Now, is there some weird artifact or enchantment that we need this much main deck and disenchant effects, or is there something more nefarious going on? Why don't you
Yeah,
explain
right.
it?
So Parallax Tide is probably the best target. You can also use Parallax Wave to just like put all of the activated abilities onto the stack in response. Pop it to take care of somebody's lands or creatures. Just take them out permanently. So you can do that with Parallax Wave. Parallax Tide, however, is even worse because you remove their lands from the game. In response, you pop the Tide, and so it's like a one-sided Armageddon. And it's relatively easy to pull off. You just play the Seal first, you play the Tide or the Wave for 4 mana, and then you just stack the activations right, and you probably win the game from there.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's definitely some degenerate stuff going on. There's a reason why Replenish is a really broken Magic card. You know, and so fighting against this blue white insanity, we've got some healthy green creatures.
That's right. Some good old fashioned elves. This is not the most busted version of elves that I've seen. It's a green splash white for 4 of Armageddon. So
Whoa!
that's
So really,
obviously
nobody's lands are safe. That's
yeah, right.
the. I think this match could easily boil down to whoever just like Geddon's first is probably going to win. Like the
Yeah,
elf
I think
deck, all the elves make mana. So if you just like play out, two elves and then Geddon, you're probably going to win.
yeah, that sounds right. Elves also has 2 Plow Under, which probably is not as relevant here because all of the card draw on Masa's side. But 1 Biorhythm that could be theoretically that could
Of
be
course.
relevant if Opalescence isn't out. Then really Masa doesn't have any other creatures, so that would just be game over.
Okay. I mean, there's a reason this card's banned in EDH. Just one shot your
Right.
opponent. And then yeah, we're just doing elf stuff. We do not have survival of the fittest. Am I
Nope.
correct?
Nope.
Okay,
No
so there's
survival.
no survival. He's got the Goblin Ringleader Elf, Sylvan Messenger.
Messenger.
Yeah,
Messenger.
so we've got the card draw there. We've got some Lords. Uh, we've got lots of elves that tap for mana, uh, like all of them. So yeah, there's like 12 elves that tap for mana. 4 Gaia's Cradle. That's a very fair Magic card, by the way. I feel
Yeah.
like,
A foil Gaia's Cradle looks like as well. So probably the single
whoa.
most expensive card in any of the top 4 decks that we'll see today.
Yeah, that's a big flex. We're gonna see who's got the bigger, better shinies going on in the match. That could just decide it. um, and yeah, anything else? Yeah, just a bunch of dudes, but all this fast mana. Also, we'll mention this in this format. The mana bases in this format are not good. We have ally fetch lands, but there's no dual lands for them to fetch. City of Brass is like the best multicolor land. So staying in one color, like mono green or like a tiny splash of white, and then Masayuki's deck, his mana base is pretty good too. He's in 2 colors and they're allied colors. There's more allied dual lands. That's a big deal, and it doesn't surprise me, in fact, that our semis have a lot of these very clean mana bases. There's also Sligh and mono red Sligh and mono green elves on the other side of the bracket. And yeah, otherwise you're opening yourself up to this failed case because the mana bases in this format are very sketchy, especially compared to modern standards.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're looking at Pain from fetch lands, and then both Masa and Mike are both playing Pain lands as well. So neither one of them is like particularly aggro. Mike's is definitely more aggro, but they'll take a few points of life here and there.
All right. Well, I definitely think we've set the stage. We've kept our viewers in suspense long enough. I'm sure they're drooling at the thought of these foil. What is it? Urza's block rares. So, I think I had a foil Academy Rector at one time, but I traded it away for power, and I don't know who got the better end of that deal. I mean, that and many other cards, but I'll never get another foil Academy Rector.
Yeah, certainly. Price of power has gone up as well, though. So I'm sure you did. I mean, depending on when you traded for it. If it was a couple years ago, I'm sure you're still pretty far ahead.
Nah, I can't complain. All right, so we've started the match. Masika leads off on one of the dual lands, the pain lands, and Mike's fire back isn't a mana accelerant, which is a little sad. I think when you're playing 8, Land of War elves, you always want one in your opener. I didn't catch if we had any mulligans. I think they both kept 7.
Yeah, not sure. Yeah, Wirewood Symbiote, not the strongest start. Doesn't really have to worry about removal game 1 or
Yeah.
pinpoint removal anyway. Obviously, Parallax Wave can be a blowout.
Okay, and we are casting a spell, but that I have to go look up.
That's attunement. So 3
oh,
cost
oh,
enchantment, return it to your
oh,
hand,
that's an
draw 3,
ancient tune.
discard 4.
Okay, yeah, I thought attunement
Yeah,
cost
ancient
3,
tune.
and I only saw 2 lands. There you go, lands that tap for more than 1 mana. They're always fair and balanced. No one ever feels bad when people Tron up on you on turn 3 and exile all your permanents. Never. Like, it's great. Like, we love that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
go ahead.
Oh yeah, I mentioned it a second ago, but yeah, so Masa's definitely taking some damage here. So it looks like he's got a Darkar Wastes out. So he just took 3
Yeah.
in order to play attunement. But I mean, he could go off as early as turn 3.
Yeah, next turn.
Could,
Because we activate attunement, we draw 3, discard 4, and bounce the attunement back to our hand. So clearly, we're going to discard 4 enchantments and then cast Replenish, which costs 4 mana conveniently. And then we can just put 4 enchantments into play on turn 3. And yeah, game 1, the elf deck doesn't have anything to say about that.
right. Doesn't have survival. Doesn't have any ways to blow up enchantments. I don't believe so.
There
Yeah,
might be a
if it's like
lyricist or something. Check.
I'm not seeing it. So if Masa goes Opalescence and Parallax Wave, it's probably over. There's probably nothing that Mike can do.
All right. So yeah, we're doing it. It's happening right now. So Mike is set up for next turn. He's got the symbiote and the priest of Titania. So if he just plays like another elf, he can generate tons of mana and just explode next turn. But that may not happen. Like Mike's just crossing his fingers.
Right. There's lots of card draw, lots of lands in this deck, so Masa could definitely whiff. And there's only 4 replenish in the deck. No ways to tutor those.
Seal of Cleansing, Parallax Wave. I mean, just nuking both these creatures is okay. I mean, and what What's behind door number 4? Also, I haven't heard back. They all right. Sounds like another parallax, so that's actually pretty good. We can just stop all creatures from happening for a while. I don't know what his English proficiency is, but the beauty of Magic is we all know the cards, we all know these shortcuts. I've definitely played, tournaments on the Pro Tour or at events where I was able to communicate with people who didn't speak English. That's like a really cool thing about this hobby.
Yeah, absolutely. I've played Masayuki, I think once or twice, and yeah, it's totally doable.
Excellent. All right. So we're getting this Mox Diamond. Hey, fast mana. Once again, that's totally fair. Everyone thinks fast mana is something that people should be getting to do. We're going for, is this Frantic Search? Okay, we're digging deeper. No, okay. So, no, we discarded land Mox Diamond to Frantic Search. Now we're discarding Parallax Tide, land to Frantic Search. Oh, yeah, man. Frantic Search. This card is fair. I mean,
yeah. So I think he might have cast 2 different ones.
Yeah, he cast 2 frantic searches. So he's all right. We're cracking a land. That's
it. Does he have it?
Yeah,
I think he might have it.
If this is the replenish, then that's all she wrote. So we're gonna get to remove all these lands and all these creatures and do some other stuff. But at that point, it's kind of a moot point.
Right. It's interesting. He doesn't win the game outright because I don't think he discarded an Opalesense as far as I saw. So like he can completely wipe Mike's board, but he won't actually have a win.
True. And he's actually low on resources. So if he goes for that play, then he only has 2 cards in hand. He's way ahead. Like when you have, okay, no, we're just casting the Parallax Wave. So we didn't find the replenish. So I definitely think that we're waving out. I would wave out the priest for sure. I might leave the symbiote because the symbiote doesn't do anything until some relevant elf shows up.
But you have to take the symbiote out first, right? Because he could return the priest to his hand.
Yeah, that's
Isn't
true.
That how
that's
symbiote works?
Yeah. It's been a while since I played against Legacy Elves, but you're not wrong. That is you gotta kill the bug first.
Yeah, I actually don't think that Masayuki is in a great spot here. I mean, I can't really tell the life totals from the blurry dice, but he has taken an enormous amount of damage from activating Ancient Tomb like 3 times last turn.
That is true.
He's got to find a replenish or Opalescence or something.
All right. Well, using Parallax Wave on this like pseudo elvish visionary is not that great. So
yeah, absolutely. Especially because in all likelihood it will come back as well.
Yeah, we're in the situation where these creatures would come back because of the way the timing with Seal of Cleansing works. You have to put I'm exiling these creatures. I put that on the stack, and then I respond to that by blowing up the Parallax Wave. But now we're at this stage. These creatures would come back from the Seal of Cleansing trick. So,
right. So Nate is saying that Masayuki is at 8, which sounds about right. So this 1 elf on board is a 4-turn clock.
This is, I mean, we can't imagine that this. All right, we're not even paying the echo. We don't need that.
Yeah, right.
That elf's not important. So Masayuki does get a lot of redraws next turn because we crack this attunement again. We get to go pretty deep. And the elf deck is fundamentally about creatures, and no creatures are in play. So
right.
I'm still feeling all right as Masayuki. I'm not being the biggest pressure against me is my own mana base.
Yeah.
So, boom goes the dynamite.
All
right. Okay, that's big game. Yeah, these elves come back from the Parallax Wave. They make mana. That's Masayuki doesn't have a lot of resources.
Yep, he's at 5 at this point.
Oh yeah. Like this 2 power with the dorks coming back from the wave, you just clock him out.
It's gonna be good enough. I don't think that he can. I would be amazed. I would be so shocked if Massa wins this game.
All right. Well, we get to crack this attunement, so that's a good place to start. Is palming 3 cards.
But my guess is he had no. Yeah, exactly. He had no lands in hand probably because he had been activating Frantic Search and Attunement and just discarding them all. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So I mean, we kind of mentioned that we felt like whoever cast Armageddon effect first would probably lock it up. Like in my mind, I assumed the elf player would have some elves in play when that happened, but in a way, they do have some elves in play.
Yeah, right. Just on a suspend.
Oh man, that was classic. There definitely was suspend, you know, obliterate type of shenanigans like a zillion years ago when the suspend mechanic first showed up. Interesting. All right. What are we gonna do? I mean, okay, we have lands. Like we're not dead. So if we
Looks
have
like a
like
Darkar Waste and
yeah,
Island.
if
Still not enough
we
to really cast anything in his
yeah,
deck.
we need Ancient Tomb and Replenish as our next next cards.
Yeah. Sounds like Mike might be, or I would guess that Mike is maybe asking about the way that the fading counters work. Like, I think a lot of people, they think that when the last one is removed, it goes away. You actually have to
Right.
wait another turn until you cannot remove one, and then it finally
Yeah.
goes away after that.
Yeah, it's very good to have like consistent effects like fading and vanishing and suspend that are all like slightly, but not quite. All right, people in the chat are calling for some stifles. I don't think that there are any in Masayuki's list. Uh,
Unfortunately.
that would be pretty spicy if there were.
I
All right, so
can't.
now that elves come back,
What is in play for Mike right now?
I have to go look at Mike's list.
I'm like trying to
Uh,
match up the picture to his list, and I cannot
I mean,
identify. Oh,
is it the guy that pumps for the number of elves you have? No, okay, it makes an insect when an elf ETBs. Oh yeah. I haven't heard about that since was it the first
Hive Master.
Hive Master.
Interesting.
Okay, so there's just like really, it's not just elves; it's elves and insect tribal going on here. All right. So because of the way this works, the creatures did show up on Masayuki's turn, so I think that I'm not sure who's going to be able to attack, but it's looking bleak.
Yeah, if he has to go off this turn.
Yeah, we're in trouble.
Yep. And I think there's like 3 parallax waves in Mass's graveyard, so he doesn't actually. He like has to get in a.
I feel
Oh
like
no, that's it.
I feel
That's
like
it.
is he just dead or is he still at 5? Because if we went to if we took any pain from our okay, we're still at 5. Because I was saying if we took any pain from a fetch or a pain land, then we're just like dead on board.
Right.
All right, guys, Cradle, continue to be awesome.
4 mana in the pool.
Okay, we're casting a
Uh-oh, here we
morph
go.
creature. So
So this is the guy that when he flips, he pumps, right? So
yeah, we're gonna
Massa is in
overrun.
fact dead.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Mass is just dead, so
Yep.
okay,
That's all
so
she wrote.
yeah, the elves get like +2/+2 in trample, and the insect will come in just to send a message. All right, so game one goes to the person who get in first. Massa didn't draw the Opalescence, or as far as you can tell, the Replenish. Let's take a look at the sideboard options. What do we have here?
Not. I'm looking at Massa's
Yeah.
board, and it doesn't look like a lot. True Believer irrelevant here, I think. Aura of Silence also irrelevant. Maybe,
Yeah,
probably
there's
most
nothing.
likely
Massa's
irrelevant.
going to present the same 60. There's nothing here,
Yeah.
unless he sees. However, if there are Tormod's Crypts in the Elf deck, you bring in your Null Rods to preemptively stop. And there are Tormod's Crypts at this point. The players do have open lists.
Yes. Yeah,
So
that's a good point. So probably
I,
2 Nullrod.
yeah, I bring in 2 Null Rods to stop Tormod's Crypt. I would be a little worried about these winter orbs, but hey, funny story. My deck has 4 main deck Seal of Cleansing, so I'm actually not worried about winter orb.
Right. What do you think about Seal of Removal? Is that just too low impact? So like bounce 1 elf, just not worth it?
I don't think it's worth it. I think you want that for decks that are cheating out, like a Sutured Ghoul combo or Oath of Druids or
Sure.
Reanimator. But I wouldn't mess with it against, Llanowar Elves deck. I'm not feeling that. On the other side, the Elf deck, So yeah, there's 2 Tormod's Crypts. I mean, those are definitely coming in. There's some number of Naturalizes you can bring in. It's really tricky to bring in Naturalize because that means you have to leave up this 2 mana all the time to try to interdict this combo, and it may not be enough. If there's enough enchantments in the graveyard, blowing up one of them may not work. It might be inclined to do it anyway, but it's not exciting.
Yeah. So somebody in the chat is actually saying that Masa brought in True Believer against their elf deck. So maybe just as a blocker. I'm not sure what
I mean,
he would
okay,
be taking
so
out.
a lot of these elves are 1/1s, and in the land of 1/1s, the 2/2
Yeah.
is king.
Yeah. Just buy you some time from your. Yeah,
Okay. The
quite
chat is
realize.
saying that because so Tormod's Crypt targets if you have the True Believer in play,
Oh,
you
okay.
cannot
It's
be
like another null
crypted.
rod. Yeah. You're right.
All right. I'm picking up what you're putting down. Chat
That's
coming
sweet.
through with all the next level moves. That's
Right.
okay,
We're
chat.
really just here to read the chat and not actually make, meaningful
Yeah,
insights into the play patterns that are
no
going on.
way. No way. I'm watching the chat. They're going to say something really ridiculous next, and I'm going to pounce. I'm like, oh, come on, guys. Can you even read? All right. So Musa's on the play. Was on the play last game. It was really close, and something, something together. There's no open replenish. Probably no replenish. Like my guess is like all this stuff happened. It just there's only 4 replenishes in the deck. Is Mystic Tutor legal in this format?
Oh yeah. Mystic. All of the tutors except for
Hmm.
Vampiric Tutor
Except for
are
Vamp.
legal, I believe.
Yeah, maybe there should be like a one of Mystic Tutor in here to make sure you just always get this replenish because that's it. That's all. That's what your deck is doing. Casting replenish.
Yeah. I could even see it like as a sideboard 1 or 2 of. So like you don't want to waste that card against control decks with counter spells, but like when you know the
Yeah.
coast is clear, why not just jam 6 replenish?
All right. So seal removal did come in.
Okay. All
All
right.
right, and once again, the elf deck does not have the best opening. We've got a bug, but we don't have a Llanowar elf.
Yeah. It is a foil bug, so that counts for
Mm,
something.
it's true. So the chat is saying some nonsense about basic mountains. I can't even read past that because the chat is so categorically incorrect. Like I'm just gonna assume that somebody's, it's after work. They just picked up a 6-pack or something and they're just talking nonsense.
Hey man, 2 Sligh decks made it to the top 8. How many Landstill decks made it to the top 8 this time?
I don't know, but I didn't look at any of the lists. I'm gonna assume that the bottom places 5 through 8 were all Landstill decks. That's clearly what happened.
Yeah.
All right,
There
so
were
identical start from Mike. Symbiote into Priest of Titania.
Yeah, so Mass has a very defensive opening start with Seal of Removal and Seal of Cleansing. So he's ready for whatever Mike decides to do.
Yeah,
But he
and
hasn't actually really developed anything himself.
there's no broken Ancient Tomb because that's what really set it off in the
Yeah.
last game. Ancient Tomb, he's just going crazy on turn 2, casting like 3 or 4 spells. All right, True Believer. So get out of here, bug beat down.
Man, I want to know how Masa has sideboarded because he's boarded in a lot of stuff. I wonder what he's taken out to make room for all of these cards.
I do wonder. Yeah,
probably Decree of Silence, probably not the most impactful thing here.
Probably not. So we've got, because we don't want to sideboard in such ways to like make our combo worse. So it's really hard to side those out. So like strategic plannings are kind of weak. Deep analysis is kind of off message, even though it plays well with discarding things out of your hand.
Yeah, it's a little slow.
Yeah, and especially if you plan on, dealing yourself 15 points of damage with your mana base, maybe bolting yourself with deep analysis isn't a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yep, totally reasonable start from Mike.
Okay. Ooh, yeah, we're just going off with these elves. We've got Quarian Ranger. We're just doing it all. So next turn, did Masa miss land drop number 3? So this is bad. This deck doesn't really function without that. So we could be in a real spot of bother because whatever is
all right,
broken.
Here's strategic planning.
Okay.
I think.
So we just like want to hit a land.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so we hit the land and we're just discarding some stuff.
Attunement. another or attunement and seal
Oh,
of cleansing.
yeah.
So that's fine. He got 2 enchantments in his graveyard, which is on the replenish plan.
Yeah, but this is the turn that Mike gets to be broken. Mike has like a ton of mana this turn, so it could just go wrong. Like Masa could just be dead right now.
Yeah, if he just like cradles out. So I think that's a cradle altar
What?
on
Oh, is it,
Mike's right
okay.
there.
Is that an altered cradle? I guess so.
And so, yeah, I mean, Mike can make a huge amount of green mana this turn. If he goes like, play a couple more elves, Armageddon, then the game is probably over.
Yeah.
And he's playing 4 Armageddon, so like the likelihood
Um,
of him having it is
hey,
actually not that
what a
not that
great
low.
combo is. Korean Ranger bouncing lands to your hand and then casting Armageddon. I hear that's really
Ooh,
good.
baby.
Just using every piece of the buffalo.
Yep. So he's up to 4 mana by tapping and untapping Priest of Titania.
Mm-hmm.
Then he gets another 3 mana. He's up to 7.
Yeah. Man. Just think about if they had goofed and they had printed like Green Sun Zenith or like Finale of Devastation, like back when all this free green mana was running around.
Yeah.
Like,
well, see, the problem is like Natural Order exists in this format, but it's freaking terrible. It is a bad Magic card.
yeah,
Like
all you
the
can
best thing you
Force.
can get is Verdant Force. Yeah, you can get Verdant Force. You can get Symbiotic Worm, which can combo well with like a Cabal Therapy in the yard. But like you can't. I tried to build like a Jund Secret Force Natural Order. Ooh. Wow.
Okay, biorhythm.
Biorhythm.
All right, well, hey, True Believer continues to do work. We're not dead, but I think we just swing out and die.
Yeah, you just swing out and die.
Right.
So
yeah,
Massa's life total goes to 1.
Massa has no counter magic in their list.
Unbelievable! I did not expect that to. Wow, incredible.
All right, so you'll just have to take our word for it. Massa's deck is actually really, really sweet. But when you play these combo decks, sometimes you don't draw your combo piece. It happens. In a situation where both decks misfire, the Elf deck is definitely going to be the better deck because their backup plan of making a bunch of dorks is a pretty good plan.
Yeah, exactly. So unfortunate there. Masa didn't find his 4 of sorcery, but Mike found his 1 of sorcery. Happens sometimes. He looked pretty far ahead anyway. Like if he would have had an Armageddon, it basically would have been the same outcome. It just would have taken a couple more turns. So
yeah. All right. So the Elves make quick work. I will say that the Elf deck, especially the survival version that's in the other side of the bracket, has been very impressive and been putting up really good results in subsequent leagues. And then the Get an Elf deck, I played against a variant of this in a previous league, and it was pretty good there. You just had that consistency and fast mana. Like, what is the fundamental rule of Magic? You can only make 1 extra mana a turn. When you're making 3 or 4 extra mana each turn, things just get out of hand.
Right, and when all that mana is used for survival effects, it's just absolutely insane. This green white deck list is pretty sweet. I don't know about the 2 Plow Under. I'd be interested to see how good they've been for Mike. I might just play 2 more Deranged Hermit instead, but very strong showing. Obviously has some serious game against combo, which I would have assumed maybe was kind of Elves a weak matchup for Elves in general. But Armageddon is a good way to stop whatever your opponent is doing.
Funny story. Need lands to cast your combo spells. Usually, this is vintage. We don't have Black Lotus, so Geddon's gonna give you the business. Okay, I think that's it for this match. We're gonna get our next match. We just see very honest Magic. We're going to see some Elves this time with survival versus Sligh.
That is not Elves with survival and Gaia's Cradle is not fair Magic. Sligh is the working man's deck, though. We're going to see fair Magic from one side.
Yeah, and we'll see if the Elf deck gets locked out by Ensnare and Bridge in the sideboard games, because that's what happened the last time we watched the Sligh deck. He just like played Ensnare and Bridge, and their opponent's deck was oriented around creatures, so that was it. That was the game. So yeah, we'll move to intermission and get everything set up. And so because of this, we will get to have I will have the finals tonight as well. So we'll get the maximum amount of Magic. Usually we have a big delay, but we're professionals now. We're snapping it off, and we're ready to deliver some good, clean magic. There's no, well, there's mostly no degenerate combo here. Tell us what we've got for the viewers, Lorian.
Sure. So, surprise, surprise, we've got an Elves deck. This one, though, is mono green with survival. So, 4 copies of Gaia's Creative, 4 copies of survival, whole bunch of Elves, 4 copies of Deranged Hermit, and then some one ofs like a Lord, a Masticore, an Elvish Lyricist, a Squee, which is red. It cannot be cast, but obviously provides some good value with survival. So yeah, just oh, and 2 copies of Biorhythm, of course.
Of course.
What's an elf deck without Biorhythm?
And behind door number 2, with this great Alamo City old school playmat, we've got Sligh, and we've got all the good burn stuff. We've got Grim Lavancers, we've got Curse Scrolls, we've got Fire Blast. Curse Scroll naming Fire Blast, a classic from anybody who's lived through that time. So I have some thoughts on this matchup. I'm not clear who's won the die roll, but typically in these situations, if mono red wins the die roll, it is very important because they can play a creature on turn 1 and they can just bolt
Right.
the first 3 creatures the elf deck plays and like keep them suppressed. But on the flip
Well,
side, if the elf deck wins the die roll, they can play a mana guy on turn 1, and the burn deck has to decide whether to bolt that creature or develop their own board, and they can never get on the front foot. What are your
right, right.
thoughts?
So Stu automatically won the die roll because he's top seed. So that's how it works in the top matches. So if he wins, so he's on the play, and if he
Mhm.
wins, then he'll also be on the play in the finals. So, but it looks like he is taking a mulligan, and Phil has kept his 7 card hand.
So I think that Stu with the right hand can very easily win on a mulligan. He has some silver bullets like Grim Lavamancer. Like if he just opens on Grim Lavamancer and then has enough spells, he can just that the Grim Lavamancer could easily recoup the lost cards from the mulligan here. That card's just got to be a nightmare. There's no removal in the elf deck, so this Lavamancer could just stay on the board if assuming Stu has one in his opener.
Yeah, I have not watched this matchup a lot, but I saw a quarterfinals match. There was another Sligh deck versus, I believe it was this Elves deck. And the interesting thing was, yeah, I mean, it's like you were saying, I'm not sure if he went second, but he was just on the back foot the whole time, just using all of his burn to burn down these elves, could never get ahead, especially like survival drops. Like it's just almost impossible to get ahead. All right, so this is a great start from
Yeah.
Stu, Mountain, Jackalpup.
Right. I mean, I know if they printed Jackal now, it'd be like a 3/6 trample haste creature. But back in the day, having 2 power for 1 mana, you would pay any cost to get that.
Yeah, exactly. They reprinted Jackalpup recently, and it was called Ragavan. So that's the
Oh
difference
yeah,
in power level.
yeah. You give you this lotus petals and draw extra cards, and occasionally have haste for no reason.
Right.
All right. So this is the sequence of events that I had alluded to. The red player is on the play. They play a creature on turn 1, and they're just going to bolt all the elves out of the way for about 3 turns and hope that the Jackalpup gets in for enough damage to bring the elf player to a manageable life total so they can burn them out before the elf player can execute their plan and crack back. Whoa. All right. So what are the odds that Phil, the elf player, held on to the Landwar Elves and did not play it on turn 1 to protect it from the bolt? What are you thinking
Yes.
here?
Seems pretty likely, especially because Jackalpup turn 1 indicates that you're probably going to want to trade at least 1 burn spell to crack in for 2. So now it attacks again. Let's see. All right. So trades with the Aquarian Ranger, probably the less important elf here.
Mm-hmm.
So Stu takes 1 because Jackalpup is just that bad of a card.
Yeah. Okay. So this is pretty like we got to play two creatures on turn 2, so we could get out of this like bolter creature out of the way attack sequence. Usually the elf deck is a synergy deck. We don't want to lose our creatures, but because we're playing against burn and our opponent mulligan, we're happy to take trades and we just want to keep our life total high. So if I'm the elf player and this is what's going on turn 3, I'm feeling good about life.
Agreed. It already looks like Stu's pretty far behind here. Rashading porting a forest with a Mana Dork in play, not a great feeling. Draws
All
a
right.
card off the
All right, more
Acolyte.
bugs. Oh, okay. And so we're just doing the
Ooh.
Elvish Visionary, uh,
Oh.
Elvish Visionary Wirewood Symbiote. So Multani's Acolyte, I believe. It's Elvish Visionary with Echo, but it's still an elf that draws a card. So you just bounce it with the symbiote and draw. Get your own Howling Mind set up. Uh, so yeah. Rishadenport is looking real bad when your opponent's deck has a bunch of Llanowar elves. So,
Agreed.
right, Curse Scroll.
Curse
Yes.
Scroll.
All right. This is
Very,
how
very reasonable card.
this is how Stu gets back in the game. We need one of these recursive burn sources like Grimlaw Manta or Curse Scroll, because that's how we can equalize from this bad situation we're in. So,
Yeah, as I said, like I haven't played this matchup a lot, but I was kind of thinking, like what would happen if you just completely ignored the elves and just tried to shoot everything face, just go everything face.
all right, well we are not
Oh
doing
my
that.
god!
Stu's just
Wow!
blown up all his lands to Fire Blast away. All right, so yeah, Stu's on the opposite game plan.
All right,
This is bold. We're getting rid of all of our red mana to kill all the elves. This is aggressive.
that is very aggressive. Well, I'll
Yeah.
be interested to see if this works out. The problem though is like there are literally, I think there are more elves in Phil's deck than there are burn spells in Stu's deck. Now he has Curse Scroll with Wasteland in hand, so he can Curse Scroll literally whatever he draws. He can activate Curse Scroll next turn. The following turn, though, I think he's going to run into a problem. If he has any red spells, he's not going to necessarily have
Right.
a mountain to cast it, and then Curse Scroll will become less and less effective. So Stu's
Yeah.
just like hoping to God that,
Draw Mountain.
yeah, and that Phil runs out of elves, which I think is so
Yeah, I
unlikely.
can't see the deck with like 30 elves not having more elves to play. Um, yeah, I see where Stu's going with this, but we're a little behind the eight ball. Hmm.
Yeah, so Phil has 4 cards in hand.
Yeah, I
Stu,
mean,
right? Just gonna pop the Curse Scroll now. Let's see what he has in hand.
okay,
All
another
right, so,
wasteland. So we're gonna
so
get to Curse Scroll again.
yeah, that's actually pretty reasonable for Stu.
All right, what's going on? Oh, are we playing Collar of the Claw? Oh
Caller of the
no! This
Claw.
plan had the wheels have come off. Yeah, so Collar of the Claw is this flash elf. When it makes bears, 2/2 bears for each creature that died under your control that turn. So Stu's plan to lock the elf deck out of creatures is has been really undone now. Now now we've got multiple creatures in play, so a single curse scroll activation is not going to get it done. We've got 6 power, maybe 7. Yeah, Multiplies
7
Acolyte's a
power.
2/1.
Yep.
Oof. Um,
I do not see how Stu gets back in this game. I think
no,
I
no.
think this he's done so.
Yeah. That being said, if we'd thrown all that damage at Phil somehow, Phil's at 14 now. We could have thrown 8 damage at him, put him to 6. 3
A
more
couple
turns.
scroll activations. It would have been
Yeah, that would have been real
I don't know.
close. That would have been real
I think it would have
close.
been close. I mean, obviously, like Phil would have been smashing in with all these elves. So
Right. Yeah.
that's yeah. The game is over though. There's just
Yeah,
no
there's no outs.
no.
Maybe Phil's internet can just like disconnect and like that's when you're playing Moto and getting crushed. You're like, man, I hope my opponent's internet just craps out on him right now. That's the
Yeah.
only reason I'm still in this game.
Phil just forgets to attack or something 6 turns
Yeah,
in a row.
yeah. Misclicks through the attack step. His kid comes up, Daddy, I have to go to the potty. And you're like, yes, let
Yeah,
him
right.
in. No,
He
no,
has a
but
family emergency and has to concede the match on the spot.
all right, Stu's seen enough. Green creatures. All right, so this is unfortunate because we're mentioning how important being on the play is. Now that means if we go to game 3, Phil is going to be on the play, and that's like a really big deal.
Yeah. I just don't I just think that Phil's deck is just going to outgrind Stu's. I mean, Ensnaring Bridge is an
Yeah,
interesting
Stu.
thought, but like Stu can just have one artifact. Yeah, he has Nantuko Vigilante. So he could bring in one Nantuko Vigilante if he's worried about Ensnaring Bridge, survival for it,
Yeah,
and get rid of the Ensnaring Bridge. And like Stu really doesn't have anything. Like he could bring in Sulfuric Vortex, I guess, to try to turn off
it's
Well
it's hard to
Wisher.
bring in Oh man, it's Well Wisher in this deck. Jeez, it's hard to bring in Vortex when your opponent's deck is full of creatures. Like
Agreed.
that could
And
be
you're
really
on the draw.
backfire.
And you're on the draw.
Yeah.
Like it's much sulfuric vortex is better when you're on the play.
All right. So speaking of which, uh, yeah, Phil sent me his sideboard strategy in this match.
Okay.
Okay, and so out comes one Elvish champion, out comes one Elvish lyricist, in comes one Genesis, in comes one Nantuko vigilante. I'm actually a little surprised that the biorhythms aren't coming out, but actually the biorhythm could just reset your life total higher. I feel like if you have a bunch of elves in play, you're probably winning anyway, though. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I was kind of thinking like that's why sulfuric vortex isn't completely unreasonable if you want to try to play the weird turn off biorhythm game because like, that does count as gaining life.
All
I don't
right.
think it's good enough, especially on the draw, but I just don't I don't see a lot of silver bullets in Stu's
Survival throws like a big
sideboard.
wrench because you're like,
Yeah.
oh, my opponent would have to bring in like 4 naturalized and they could clock up his hand and mess it up. It's like, well, survival like one creature is enough. Still, if I were Stu, I still think Ensnaring Bridge is just so good. When my opponent's deck is 30 creatures, it's hard for me to say, oh, I don't want to bring in this card that turns off all creatures. I mean,
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, yes, so maybe Stu is just like I mean then that helps with the just like burn face plan
yeah,
of not
yeah,
worrying about the creatures anymore and just hoping to God that ensnaring bridge gets you there. You're just
but
volcanic hammering and seal of cleansing your opponent and just like praying to God that you get to 20 damage.
yeah. So there we have it. I still think we're going to see 3 games. I feel like Stu he mulliganed, didn't have the silver bullet of Grim Lavamancer in the opener, which would have just been insane. So I feel like on the play here, hopefully Stu can get this game, and then probably on the draw in the subsequent game, it's going to be really rough. So I anticipate Elves taking the match, but that's why we play the games. Anything could happen.
For sure. Yeah, Phil could mulligan 6 times. You never know.
So is that.
It is a Elves is a great choice. I mean, it's just so consistent. You're playing one color. You've got all of these 1 mana and 2 mana creatures. Like you only need 1, 2 lands to go off to the races. If you ever draw a Gaia's Cradle, it just gets absolutely bonkers. It's a great choice. I mean, like, so what are the best decks against Elves? Like any engineered plague deck that can protect the plagues obviously
Yeah,
is pretty
injured plague
decent.
is a problem. So if you're not playing Armageddon, which the survival elf deck isn't, I feel like combo's got to be bad. Like Armageddon helps a lot against combo, but the survival deck has a lot of value. But the combo deck won't care about that value because they'll have done something dumb and just won't care that you're drawing 2 cards a turn.
Yeah, Tweety mentioned Deed in the chat. Totally agree. Unless they have Collar of the Claw, so you got to like
Ooh,
Cabal Therapy for Collar of the Claw first, which doesn't even work if they have Survival in play because
right,
they can
because just
just wait for you to
hold this
pop the
guy.
Deed and then Survival for the Collar of the Claw. So, yeah, engineered play like black cards. Yeah, Perish also a great card against Elves.
I mean, I'm going to say that odds are the elf deck doesn't want to see the better green enchantment Oath of Druids on the other side of the board.
Right,
That would be
that's
pretty
true.
awful.
That's true. Yeah, fog effects. Fog effects are great. Yeah, so Spike Feeder,
Yeah.
excellent card. Or
All
Spike
right.
Weaver, I'm sorry, Spike
Spike
Weaver.
Weaver. But yeah, Oath would be bad news. So the elf deck is taking a mulligan. So you want neither of these. Obviously, you never want to mulligan, but the elf deck is a synergistic deck. When you have a bunch of elves in play, they'll work together to be better. So it hurts, in that regard.
Right. And like something else we didn't even mention is there's no interaction that Stu has against survival. He has
Ooh.
no way to stop that. The only way that he has to stop that card is just time, just beating
Yeah.
Phil faster.
All right. Well, we've got this great card, Grim Lavamancer, in play. So
Yeah.
if your
But not a
opponent's
fetch land. I think
yeah,
fetch land into Grim Lavamancer is S tier. This is slightly less good.
yeah, I was
Seal
a
of
little
Fire.
confuzzled by the lack of. I would just put some fetch lands in the deck just for the Grim Lavamancer. for the vague deck thinning blah blah blah.
Yes,
But
I absolutely agree.
I would
So
put some red fetch lands in this deck.
I get it though. Stu is being greedy with the fire blast. So typically, when you see a deck with 4 Wasteland, 4 Rashad port, which Stu is on, you don't
Mm-hmm.
see 4 Fire Blast. Like I played Sligh this league, and I played 2 Fire Blast in my 8 colorless mana decks. But
Mm.
Stu is opting, instead of getting the fetch lands to combo with Grim Lavamancer, he's playing the extra mountains to combo better with Fire Blast. So it's an interesting choice. I mean, Fire Blast is an insane card, especially in twos. Like to 8 somebody out of nowhere with 0 mana is an impressive play. But it does hurt him in a situation like this where he has a turn 1 Grim Lavamancer.
Okay, well, we're just gonna mop up these elves now, and these bugs. Oh, we're gonna do incinerate. Okay, yeah, sure.
Incinerate
Use
and
our
then
mana more.
smash in with for 1 with the
Ooh,
Lavamancer.
human wizards greater than bug shamans. Clearly, clearly. This is bad for the elf player because we had to bounce that land, so we can't flood the board to like overpower the Lavamancer and Curse Scroll. And so this is one way to beat survival is if who cares how many creatures you're drawing out survival if I just shoot them all down with my recursive effects.
Yeah, but I think this pyrostatic pillar. I was
Oof.
wondering if Stu was going to bring that in. So
Oof.
that is another way to beat survival, is just to punish
Yeah.
the elves
Because
player.
Stu doesn't need to play any more spells at this point. Everything is on the board, and it's the Eidolon of the Great Revel effect. These symmetric everybody takes damage effects are definitely better for the burn player. Uh, Seeing the pyrostatic pillar as the elf player, I would be very interested in revising my sideboard strategy and grabbing extra disenchant effects. Like now, it's not just a snaring bridge. We need to revisit our sideboarding.
Yeah, I don't know. So these are open deck lists, and
Mm-hmm.
Stu literally has 1 pyrostatic pillar.
Oh,
So I don't think I would be worried about it. He's
you
just
know,
like, all right, Stu got lucky this game. Let's go to
mm,
game. If he ends up losing, go to game 3. But
there's also like 4 curse scrolls and maybe this ensnaring bridge running around. Uh, those cards are so impactful. I might be inclined to revisit that thinking.
yeah, it's interesting. So like, Phil can take care of the pyrostatic pillar if he wants to. He can like survival into the vigilante. Probably can't cast it
Yeah.
until he has 5 mana up to flip it
Right. Yeah.
immediately. That's pretty
Play and flip is
slow.
a lot of mana.
Yep. So
Right.
he's in it. So Stu is in a great spot because Phil both has no mana elves in play,
And is
and
unlikely to do so.
right, and so like his ability to play around pyrostatic pillar is not great right now. I wonder what to go get. So obviously, yeah. So survivals, pitches, deranged hermit to get squee, discard squee to get a mana elf. I wonder.
It might be a mana elf, even though it sucks to play it and dome yourself for 2 off the pillar
Sure.
and then have it gunned down by any of these other things. I'm not a big fan of getting anything else. We don't want to just pass with this mana that we're not using. Okay, Genesis.
Genesis. Okay.
All right, so we're
Interesting.
setting up, you know, for this really long game. Hmm.
Yeah. So, all right. This is a long-term plan. I
Yeah.
mean,
All
he
right.
is
Yeah.
only
Okay.
at
This
yeah.
creature conveniently has 3 toughness, I believe. So yeah, Genesis is a 4/4. Okay. But yeah, the 3 toughness. I'll double check. Sylvan Messenger, is that a 3 toughness creature? Because that would be really huge, actually. And it doesn't trigger the
I
pillar.
I thought he was just a 2/2 like the
Ah,
ringleader, but I could be wrong.
sad
Sylvan
face.
Messenger.
Let me check that. No, it's just a 2/2. That's still fine. Not triggering the pillar and filling up your hand with guys is that's not the worst. I respect this decision.
All right.
Yeah.
So you get some squee action going, pretty slow. So yeah, the elves is definitely slowed way down with pyrostatic pillar. Otherwise, he
Yeah.
could just kind of like poop out a bunch of mana dorks and at least gum up the board a bit. But now that's going to cost him 2 life every time he wants to do it.
Oof.
Doesn't look like he drew the 4th land unless it's like a Gaia's
Okay.
Cradle. Nope, he's just going to. squee it up again. So Stu's in a great spot to win this game. Although I will point out, Phil is at 17 life,
Yeah,
and this
Stu
is
needs to
what turn
draw.
like 4 or 5 or something. Like
Yeah,
this is a slow game, but Stu seems to
it's
be
just
in a good situation.
it's just vectored into this like prison plan. Stu needs to draw one more land. Actually, is what it is. One more land, we could be more off to the races since like 3 mana is tied up on this curse scroll activation. But every time we do that, we like can't play another spell, so our curse scroll gets worse and worse. All right, and now we're just gonna start walking into the onboard tricks.
Yeah, so I wonder if Stu has any burn in his hand. Like an incinerate bolt here would be great. Get the cards out of your hand, start activating curse scroll.
Yeah, we'll find out at the end of the turn. I'm sure all
Yeah,
secrets will be revealed. Oh, guys, Cradle.
Gaia's
All
Cradle.
right, so now you have like unlimited incentive to kill the Landware Elf. It's like, oh, we got to get this guy out of here.
Stu names Fire Blast.
Oh, what a
Let's see how
bold.
many Fire Blasts he
Yeah,
has in
you didn't
hand.
sight him out? Are you serious?
Oh, interesting.
Oh,
Stu either got lucky or he's
yeah. Or
sitting
there's
on
just
two.
like pocket rockets in his hand.
Right. So the elf has gone away. Gaia's Cradle has no text at this point.
Ooh,
Stu can wasteland it
that
if
is
he wants
sad.
to,
No, Stu wants
but
all his lands in play to
yeah,
keep activating this curse scroll. Especially when
agreed.
there's a fire blast in your hand. Like you're not in a, all right, so Stu's gonna shock himself. Oh, that's fine. Just get these cards out of the hand.
So Stu passes with Lavamancer up, which means that he's planning on just using it end of Phil's turn. Otherwise, he would have attacked for one if he had something else he wanted to do with that mana.
Yeah, basically, yeah, we can't let any elves like go to the untap step, make the cradle better. So I'm trying to think if there's like a modern elf that like fights when it comes into play. I'm sure there is, but there's definitely not in this format. That would be pretty great though. All right, just pass.
Oof.
Pass. Okay. So yeah, we're just trying to get the fourth land for the messenger. We're drawing all these extra cards. They're just not translating to things that we can keep on the board.
All right, so let's see. Right now, Phil is at a virtual 9 with the seals, a virtual 7 with the Lavamancer activation, a virtual 3 with Fire
Woof.
Blast. So
Yeah,
if
this
he has
is
exact, no, he can't do it this turn, but Stu's very close.
yeah. That the clock is definitely very real. So this is actually an interesting thing. I'm gonna because the other elf deck was splashing white. I wonder if it had something like rule of law, which the other elf deck does not. But if I were splashing white, rule of law would be something I'd think about to like get out of these lock situations. Because right now we're kind of frozen out. Typically, if you're playing a typical green deck, not an elf deck, you would get out of this by playing a 4 toughness creature. You would play a Ravenous Baloth, but no such option that exists in the confines of the elf deck.
Yeah, I mean, I could see Ravenous Baloth in the sideboard, like a 1 or 2 of in a Survival Elves deck. That seems like a reasonable card. I mean, you can also play Well-Wisher, which is weak to
Yeah, you need to
burn,
untap.
and unless you're playing Angry Elves, in which case, like, you can activate it immediately.
Yeah, that would be great if we had a mountain and anger in this deck. Then we could actually just explode out of nowhere. That would yeah. Okay, so that's one way to get out of this lock. All right, we're taking 2 from the fire
Ooh.
static filler. We're playing with fire, like literally, literally. All right,
All right,
whoa,
so Stu finally
wasteland in
wastes the in
response.
response. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, yeah, that's a very strong signal from the burn players that they think the game is over.
Yeah, I mean, Stu's got 10 damage on board right now.
It was bait. Second guy's cradle. They always have it. Why did you to wasteland me?
Oh man. Assuming that Stu has 2 fire blasts in hand, then he will need something off the top. But I think he'll get
And
here. I mean, just Phil doesn't have any kind of a clock. So
right.
literally if he goes Grim Lava Manchu end of turn, is that it? 2, 4, 6, 8, 12. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he literally wins on his turn.
All
So
right. 2/2 morph, which
yeah,
also
yeah,
does
he's
2
dead.
damage. So yeah, we're
He's
dead.
the game
We're
is
dead.
over. The game is over.
Dobbs. Dobbs.
The game was over anyway, but
Yeah.
it is now
It's
especially
like
over.
extra over.
Yep.
All right. Stu's not missing it. It's like, nope,
Right.
we're not shooting the elves. We're going upstairs. Um, there's nothing to see here, citizens. All right. So while Stu goes through the motions, we're going to mention that I feel like when in game three, when the elf deck is on the play, it's it's going to be pretty hard for the burn deck to win because they have to make it. The burn deck has to make a decision very early in the game to proactively do something versus just bolt every elf that shows up, and then they can get
Yeah.
permanently behind and never get ahead on the front foot. Uh, so much so that I wonder if Jackal Pup will even be in the deck when you're on the draw. Like I,
It does seem pretty bad. I mean, what else do you bring in? So you've got 3. So here's a funny thing about Phyrexian Furnace, because it draws you the card. Sometimes it is better, even if your opponent is doing nothing involving the graveyard.
mm-hmm.
Sometimes that redraw is better than a dead ass card that you would otherwise be drawing. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe Stu would rather have any card in his deck a
Yeah.
redraw as opposed to a Jackal Pup, because it does seem bad.
Well, also you can play the furnace and then get a card out of your hand for the purposes of ensnaring bridge and curse scroll, and
True.
then redraw later. Because let's say that we do decide to sideboard out our Jackal Pups, which are 1 drops, and we have ensnaring bridges in our deck, then our mana curve gets hard, which makes the ensnaring high, which makes the ensnaring bridge worse. Um, so yeah, people are making some changes. I suspect the elf deck might be bringing in some extra disenchants because Curse Scroll, Pillar, and possibly Ensnaring Bridge. These are such impactful cards. I just wouldn't want to be colded out by them. Um, and then Stu made some changes, so maybe some Jackal Pups came out. Maybe on the draw, like Pyrostatic Pillar just doesn't get. Maybe it's too late. You know.
Interesting. It was very convincing, that game.
It
I did
was.
not. I did. That's yeah. But like you said, it's probably too slow.
Yeah, like on the draw, your Grim Lavamancer won't get to activate, and kill the first elf. Uh, so the elf deck could potentially untap with their first mana elf and have like 5 power with their elves in play when you play the Pyrostatic Pillar. In which case they'll be like, "I'll attack you." And you're like, "Pyrostatic Pillar's looking real bad." So,
Yeah.
and also of note, both players have mulliganed. So hopefully we can get some nice clean magic, and everybody keeps 7 here. But of the 2 decks, I think the elf deck can probably. I don't know. I don't know.
I think it's strongly favored. I think if Phil um, either gets mana screwed or mana flooded, if one of those things happen and just gives Stu, doesn't have to even be the whole game, but just like a turn or two, could be enough for Stu to race him. But I think otherwise Phil is going to have this game.
Yeah, I'm checking. So so there's only one messenger. So to fight flood, we've got 1 messenger, 4 survivals, and then also we do have some great payoffs.
Yeah.
We've got deranged hermit, which makes a bunch of guys. Also, we have Kamal, Fist of Croza. So I'm not, and it's hard to flood out. We also have the Elvish Visionary, Multani Acolyte guy creature, so I'm not terribly concerned about that.
Yeah, and it's pretty hard to get mana screwed in this deck because you have so many mana dorks.
Yeah. All right.
So yeah, doesn't.
Stu's on the draw and mulliganing. So far, whoever's mulligan has lost. So
Yeah.
based on this 100% completely irrefutable evidence, mulligan equals losing the game. Is this true? Are we gonna test this premise right now. Come on, it's scientific. Help us out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Stu also just has a lot of bad hands. Phil, all kinds
Yeah.
of Phil of hands that Phil would have are totally fine to run with, but Stu
Yes.
has a lot of bad draws. Like multiple fire blasts that aren't going to do anything until the very end of the game. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he
Multiple
cited out.
grim Lovemancers. Like you want to draw
Yeah,
one, but like two, the second one's just like not doing anything.
right. The
Uh,
second one you trade, like if you have two
yeah,
Grim
trade with a
Lavancers,
creature.
you're probably
Yeah.
just putting in front of a Land of War Elves or something.
All right. Looks like we're keeping open. No elf on turn one. Is this real? Is this real life? What was the keep?
Wow.
Uh, okay. Well, I keep having this theory about how they'll get on the play and run away with the game, but then they just don't play any one drops. So we'll never know. We'll never
They've
know.
got something big turn two. What do they have here?
Survival of the fittest. Okay.
Survival. Okay.
Yeah, we're on the
Reasonable.
play. We can
Right.
afford to time mark ourselves to make a bunch of value. I can see that. All right.
Yeah.
So
Completely right. Which completely turns off
yeah,
Rashad and Port. Like Stu
uh,
is just going through the motions here, but
yeah, but
obviously
yeah,
Phil
we'll just
just taps a
activate
mana,
survival and
activate survival.
do. Oh, we've got the Genesis already. Uh, so yeah, flooding out will not happen. Worst case scenario, we like rebuy the Genesis or something.
So if you're Stu here and Phil plays the Land of War Elves, are you popping it with the Seal of Fire?
Uh, it is. We got to see if no land is played,
Okay.
then I might be inclined to do so. But if
Okay.
the third land shows up, there's no way. It's like whatever. I've lost that phase of the game. Woo.
Guy's Cradle. Interesting.
Okay. Well, now that elf is worth like 2 mana, but we get to have a think about it. Oh, never mind. Never mind.
Yeah, God, it's just so man. Survival is just so busted. Like, right, Wasteland, the Guy's Cradle. Sure. In
Yeah.
response, I'll activate survival.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, this is just a tough spot to be in because Stu needs, Grim Lavamancer or Curse Scroll. He needs its own recursive effect to like beat the survival.
Yeah. I also think like once Phil gets to Deranged Hermit, like if Phil plays Deranged Hermit, the game is basically over. I feel like from that spot, unless Stu can race, because 4/1/1s is just impossible. It's
Yeah,
impossible for
we
Stu
can't
to
burn
get
him
through
out.
any damage. No, it's just
Yeah, we need Ensnaring Bridge at that point, which Ensnaring now that Phil has mana and time, there's no Grim Lavamancer or Curse Scroll. Ensnaring Bridge for Nantucket Vigilante is perfectly reasonable. Like,
yeah,
I mean, yeah,
exactly.
if you're survival for that. So like these type of silver bullets aren't going to be as strong in this scenario. And it's important to note. So we know Stu's hand is all action. No, there was a wasteland that was played, so Stu could have more lands in hand.
Yeah. I mean,
Hmm.
this is the kind of game that Elves wants to play. They're
Yes.
both players are still at 20.
There's no pressure
Phil,
on board.
no pressure. Phil's gonna have 4 mana next turn. He's even got survival mana up this turn. He Urza's rages the land
Rage.
of
Yes, I love
Fyndhorn
it.
Elves.
As the elf player, I love it when my opponent uses 3 mana removal spells on my 1 mana creature.
Oh God, that you can just survival another copy for by discarding
Yeah.
Squee. Like I just see this is what I'm wondering. Like if it would make more sense to just go to the face, but Phil is at 20, so he's probably going to win the
Yeah.
race.
I
I
feel
just
like.
don't.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh no, it just seems hopeless to me from Stu's position. Like I don't know what you do here.
I'm inclined to agree. I feel like both roads kind of lose.
I
We
think you
need Phil to be at a lower life total to be going upstairs, but if we just when our opponent's drawing an extra card a turn, throwing burn spells at his creatures this isn't going to work either. So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, somebody in the comments said you can't outvalue survival as a red deck. Exactly. Like
no.
it just seems like a waste to be throwing burn spells at elves that Phil can just survival for every turn and get that recursion. It just like burn doesn't seem likely to win racing, but this seems impossible. It seems like
I
this is an impossible line.
I am inclined to agree that the better line is to just go upstairs and hope. Just cross your fingers and go upstairs. We definitely can win. extra creature every turn by shooting the creatures. So yeah, I agree with your assessment. Maybe Stu has like 3 ball lightnings in his hand. Is suddenly just going to do a bunch of
He does.
damage
He
out of
does
nowhere.
not play ball lightning. He doesn't play
Oh
ball lightning. So he only plays
no!
1 mana. The only creature that costs more than 1 mana. Guess. Don't look at the list. Just guess. He has 1 creature that's more than 1 mana.
Is there a Shivan Dragon in his list? That'd be great.
No. I'll give you a hint. It costs 2 mana.
2 mana, red creature. Man, I feel bad for not knowing this.
It's Orcish Librarian, which is
Orcish
a 1-of
Librarian.
spice card.
Okay. Yeah, you just remind me. I can't remember what that card does.
So it's like it's a red and a colorless 1/1. You pay 1 red, you tap it, you get the top 8, you shuffle them together, you randomly remove 4 from the game, and then
Uh-huh.
you can take the last 4 and put them in any order you want. So it's actually like, for a redundant deck like Stu's, it's actually
Yeah.
like not terrible card selection. But it's like a little slow, it's a little goofy, but I love Orcish Librarian. All right, so to get back to the game, things not looking
Okay.
good for Stu.
Yeah.
Got
Oh,
a
Masticore is
Masticore
in
in play.
play. We've got the squeeze, so the Masticore tax doesn't really matter. There's
Ooh,
this
but we
ensnaring
do have
bridge,
Ensnaring Bridge.
but we've got the survival, so there's no way that we can't just blow it up. Um,
Right, with Vigilante, yeah,
yeah, we've
exactly.
got unlimited mana with these priests. So if Stu had some really cool creature, the Massacre would shoot the creature down.
Yep.
Uh, woof.
So like I guess Phil has to make a decision here about what he discards. Because he has to
Uh,
discard to Masticore. He got the Squee back.
we can just spin 3 and return some creature with Genesis as well.
Oh,
Discard
true.
something, and remember, there's like unlimited mana in play. The Guy Kratos have for 3, the 2 priests each have for 2, so there's like 7
Oh, yeah.
mana. So we can totally afford to spend the 3 force on a Genesis activation if we don't have another creature in our hand. Um,
Yeah, just an embarrassment of riches on Phil's side.
yeah, it's tough, having everything, just having all this mana, all these demonic tutors, this onboard creature that kills all the other creatures. It's really hurting. I'm really feeling for him right now.
Yeah, right. So Stu has 11 damage in his graveyard.
Yeah.
So Phil would be at 9.
But I think
it's still not even that close.
Yeah, I think Stu would be dead because his Geiger Trader would have tapped for 5 mana way earlier in the game and just made a bunch of dudes. So,
Oh man, yep. So gotta feel bad for the Elves player here. He has to do mana math with mana burn.
yeah. Yeah, so if let's say that we thought, this Elf deck was a big deal, and I'm playing mono red. I think my best sideboard card is like Pyroclasm or something. You need a card that kills multiple creatures at once, even if it kills all of your own creatures. Um, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'd have some sort of Pyroclasm effect, I think.
Yeah. Blood Oath, I think, can be pretty funny if your opponent doesn't expect it. Are you familiar with Blood Oath?
Yeah, you name a card type and they take damage equal to the number, like they take like that 3x the number of that card type in their hand or something.
In their hand, yeah. So
Yeah.
you could probably get them for 9 or something with 3 creatures in their hand.
Yeah, but it costs like 4 mana. Ugh.
It costs 4 mana. It costs
That's
4
a
mana.
lot.
It
That's
is
a lot.
an instant.
Whoa, whoa! Who's the
Biorhythm.
burn deck now? Never mind. Never
All
mind.
right. Well, not that
Okay.
Phil needed it at all, but he just
Yeah, so
biorhythm
we were
Stu out
doing
of
all
this
this like
game.
important tanking about how to use the Masticore and what are we going to do to get rid of this ensnaring bridge, or we could just 20 our opponent and end the game. Yeah, that was pretty wild to leave Biorhythm in against the burn deck, but showed me.
Yeah.
All right, so
I guess your I guess your plan is to get out Masticore, kill all of their creatures, and then Biorhythm. That's the big brain line right there.
It is like, your plan is your opponent has Urza's Rage, but you also have this better Urza's Rage that just kills them instead of dealing a measly 10 damage.
And you can actually cast it because you've got Gaia's Cradle and Mana Elves.
All right. So yeah, that did end up playing how we kind of suspected. Especially with the elf deck on the play. It's just hard to grind out all these guys coming, back from the graveyard, 2 extra creatures coming out of the So the Jackal Pups did get cut because they just seemed really abysmal.
Yep.
So this is a big showing by the elf deck because we are going to have 2 elf decks in the finals. One with survival, one with Armageddon. We're gonna have to have a think about that.
I got to really hand it to Elves players. Like Standstill was the public enemy #1 for so long, so consistently, and Elves has just risen to power all of a sudden as being enemy #1. And Elves versus Elves finals. So I guess for this next league, they're gonna have a target on their back.
Yeah,
Everybody's gonna be rocking
dust off these engineered plagues,
exactly, and pernicious deeds.
Yeah, let me get this Oath of Druids into play. Let's take care of this creature problem right now. Because weirdly, Thunder Dragon is legal in this format, which pyroclasms all the creatures, and you can oath it up and kill all the elves. That happened in a previous league. All right. Yes, apparently our other player is ready. And so we're going to go to intermission, and we'll come back, and lovers of green creatures, clogged boards, and Armageddon can just have a delightful time. everybody. We're back. We've got our finals. We're going to have
Okay.
some elf on elf action. Lorian, why don't you catch us up on how these two decks might be different from each other?
Sure. So Phil's list, which is what we just saw in the previous semifinals match, is mono green with survival and a couple biorhythms, of course, because what Elves deck is not complete without biorhythm, but also some one-ofs, including Masticore, which I think is going to be pretty key to this matchup. Mike's deck is green white, so it has the 4 Armageddon, the 2 Plow Unders. Those aren't going to be as relevant here because Phil has all of these mana dorks. Biorhythm, I think, is not necessarily a great. I could actually see a win from a biorhythm because you get a little ahead on board. You biorhythm with just enough
Alpha
attackers,
Strike.
but yeah, in general, it doesn't seem like a great card here. I think the 4 survivals and especially the one of Masticore are going to really help Phil take this matchup over.
All right. Well, I'm glad you said that because I've been taking a look at Mike's deck without the survivals, and there's an important card that he has extra access to. Is 3 copies of Elves Champion, which says all of your creatures are
Ooh.
unblockable. Also, there are 2
Oh,
copies of the
yeah.
Overrun guy. And so if we play a fair creature fight game, I
Yeah.
think Mike has this huge advantage because he has 5 trump creatures that just like invalidate all of Phil's creatures out of nowhere. Uh, Phil has 1 Elvish and none of the Overrun elf, except Kamal, but
Okay.
Kamal's like more expensive to use.
Yeah. So the Overrun elf is interesting, but very important text on Elvish Champion. It's
Oh, is it all
other
elves?
elf creatures get +1/+1 in Forest
Ah,
Walk.
never mind. Okay, so
So
it's
it's
just Elvish
symmetric.
Champion.
You
Okay,
could
because
you could
Elvish.
Alpha Strike though. I mean, you could totally you could play like 2 in 1 turn and then just crack in with a bunch of unblockable. But like if you just play it on turn 3, it's going to be a huge liability for the rest of the game.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, your plan is you play the Elvish Champion and kill them that turn. You can like all of a sudden you play this card. It's like all my creatures are unblockable. Get you. Um, all right. So we are playing some Magic. So it's important to note, like, there's no other than this Masticore. There's no removal in either deck. There might be 1 Swords to Plowshares in the Splash White deck. So there's a big advantage to being on the play when your opponent just like can't disrupt you. And so we're presenting like the perfect opening. We're playing a mana creature on turn 1. If that is not answered by a mana creature from our opponent, we're like 2 turns ahead, and our opponent can just be dead before they ever catch up. They can just never get their legs from under them.
Yeah, absolutely. And one way that Mike's deck can come back from like a big Masticore board wipe is he does have 2 Collar of the Claw. So he could like theoretically, have a well-timed Collar of the Claw when all of his stuff gets blown up and then sort of get back in the game.
Okay. So this is unfortunate. Oh man, yeah. Color Claw makes it weird. Like, what if you like Alpha Strike your opponent, or you make some attack, and there's a bunch of trades, and they're like, "Well, actually, I have Color of the Claw." That seems pretty edge case, but it could happen.
It could happen. It could happen.
So
So
yeah.
Mike not off to a great start with the Wirewood symbiote. He
Oh
really
no,
wanted to.
we're just too far. What's our payoff? Do we have no
Whoa!
payoff? What are we
Wow.
doing? We have Lyricist Priest. What's the elf on the far right or left? Uh, Quirion
Ranger,
Ranger,
lyricist,
Lyricist, Priest. No, okay, so there's
and
no payoff.
Finbornos.
So we have unlimited mana and no payoff. So we're knocking the top of our deck. So we need Mike needs Phil to miss for a turn or 2 while he catches back up.
Oh, there's the foil cradle. All right.
All
I
right.
think I
All
think
right.
Mike is going to win this game alone on the fact that he played
Yeah,
a foil
he's the winner in
cradle.
our hearts.
Yep.
So yeah, this is a big deal. If there's no payoff this turn, there's Priest plus Symbiote plus Cradle. Next turn, Mike can fire back with a lot of mana. Like a lot. So what are we doing?
Acolyte,
Okay,
redraw. Let's see what you
but
get.
there's no symbiote, so there's no engine here. We're just
Yeah.
drawing a card.
You
I mean,
really.
what are we doing? We're moving these lands around. uh, I will say that I would snap keep the hand that made like 30 mana on turn 2 every time. I would not hesitate to keep this hand.
Sure. And as a survival player, you might, I mean, I don't think, yeah, with Acolyte, you probably play it because you get the redraw, but like you might consider keeping a Mana Dork in your hand if you end up drawing survival. So then you can
Yeah,
just go ham, you know. There's no worse feeling than like drawing the survival and realizing you have no
you have
cards
no
in hand.
creatures. That would be horrible. Yeah, that would be worst possible. Okay, so this is it. This is Mike's opportunity. We didn't die on turn 3. We have our foil guys cradle. We're it's off to the races. We need to answer back. And tapping our guys cradle for 1 mana is a sad way to do that. No, it's 2 mana. Okay, it's tapping
It's
for
2
2
mana.
mana. Okay.
Oh, here's the insect
All right.
elf.
All right. Do we have one more elf? One more elf? Okay. Yeah.
Foil Lano. Is that a 7th edition Llanowar Elf? A foil 7th edition Llanowar Elf?
I think so. It's a little fuzzy on
It's a,
my end. So now we get to tap for 3 mana because it's for each elf. So yeah, the Hive Master's elf. So we tap for 3, and then we can potentially untap it and tap for some more mana. So what do we got? This is a big turn. Like what if Plow Under recast right now? That'd be pretty awful. You know?
Yeah, double time walk seems fine.
Yeah, especially since we know that Phil just doesn't have any action. So we could fizzle part of the Plow Under by bouncing the forest to our hand with the Ranger.
That seems fine.
Yeah, we're doing all the things. Let me get up my Storm Dice.
Yep. Seven mana,
Okay.
casually floated. Plays an Acolyte.
All right. I don't. As we mentioned, there's mana burn in this format, so we don't put this mana into our mana pool unless we're about to, really put it to work. Okay,
Yeah.
so Elvis Visionary plus Wirewood Symbiote combo has been called, so we're definitely using at least 2 of the 7 mana.
All the while, Mike is getting more insects.
Yeah, I'm just bugging out. All right, it's actually pretty funny to me. So we have these insects that don't play with the Elvish champion or the tribal force mage, I don't think. So we just have insects to power up our guy's cradle.
Oh yeah, I think tribal force mage can name.
Oh, really? Okay,
I think it names a creature type.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, creatures of the creature type. All right, so it does embarrassingly buff your opponent's elves in this situation.
Yes,
it's not.
But if you name insects, then their elves don't get buffed,
Yeah.
and you can win the game with insects.
Never mind, we broke the symmetry. It's just all the combos are here. So yeah, we're just going off. We drew with our Elvish Visionary combo. Now we drew with our Sylvan Messenger combo. We're counting the mana very suspiciously. Like Biorhythm doesn't really get. I mean, we're definitely ahead because we have all these insects. I feel like you don't cast Biorhythm unless you kill them that turn, which I don't think we can do.
It's a huge liability, right? Like
yeah.
if Phil plays a Lord,
yeah,
then Mike would just be dead.
Okay. So we're getting a bunch of mana, but I thought the priest only generated mana for elves, not insects. So I feel like I might be missing something. But I was literally just wrong about something else.
Yeah, so they figured it out.
Okay,
so,
okay,
right.
okay.
The priest only taps for elves, or only gets mana for elves. Plays a messenger, gets a nice ringleader effect, hits 1, 2.
Okay, so an Elvish champion has been revealed.
3.
So the cat is out of the bag. Like yep. We know it. At some point, a bunch of elves could just like ninja through the forest and get us. Oh, but there's only one forest. We can bounce it with our Korean Ranger. Yeah, that's good.
Oh,
it's
brilliant!
Such a good magic card. Wow. This is this is like vintage level tower. Like we have like all this mana. We're casting these tutors and drawing these extra cards. Just
this is the go off turn.
Yeah, this is very real. I mentioned earlier, okay, tribal force mage. So next turn, there's gonna be a horrific insect infestation,
Yeah.
and the game is gonna be over. So I mentioned that there might be some clog board states, but not for long. Next turn is gonna be it.
It's going to be Judgment Day for the Elves.
Yeah, for some of them anyway. Some of the elves are wondering why they didn't bring their bug friends along. Going into the tank is, can we win this turn? Our elves don't have haste, so probably not. I would be extremely surprised.
It seems like he's just trying to figure out whether chip damage is worth it, which is probably.
It doesn't feel like this is a game where trip damage is going to matter.
I agree.
And yeah, so next turn we can overrun all our bugs and all our, well, there's only, as long as Phil sees not to play a second forest, which I still don't think saves him. To turn off the forest walk.
I think insect overrun is a completely fine play because it's gonna make Phil have to chump block quite a bit. You don't really have to even give up many of your elves. I guess there might be. I don't know if you. Yeah. So Phil just gives up. I mean.
Yeah.
That was an insane go. I mean, right. Obviously, that match is going to go in the favor of.
I'm just gonna say that I feel like it was the foil Gaia's Cradle that really made it all possible.
I agree. Well, that's what I said. As soon as he played it, he was still behind. He was still way behind. But I was like, he's got to win this match.
Doesn't matter. Foil Gaia's Cradle, just biggest flex.
That's it.
Okay, so we're gonna head to the sideboards. All right, let me see if I was given the sideboarding in this match. Yes, the survival player will sideboard out 2 biorhythms. That makes sense. We don't really want biorhythms when our opponent's deck has Azorian creatures as well. And bring in Genesis and Spore Frog. Okay, that's like a big deal. If we assemble the Frog Lock, Spore Frog just like fogs every turn with Genesis. That will be very hard for the other elf deck to beat. Though amusingly, if they are Armageddon, yeah, that's really hard. Fog every turn, definitely a problem if you're an elf player.
Right, and there's. I feel like there's no way you can bring in Tormod's Crypt just for that particular scenario.
Yeah.
Could bring in the one. No, not swords. Swords would do nothing there because you can just sack the Spore Frog in response. Yeah. Seems like a good luck.
All right. If I'm on the other side of this issue, what am I sideboarding in for the Elf Mirror? I'm not really seeing anything that's really great.
Maybe Collar of the Claw if you anticipate Masticore.
I guess. I feel like if my opponent is casting demonic tutors with survival and has like a bunch of mana, they're probably going to kill me even without the Masticore. I feel like they'll figure it out with all those resources. I'm not really seeing anything that blows me away out of the green white elf list.
Swords doesn't seem that impactful. I mean, what is the? Yeah, Swords has always disappointed me against elves. It just doesn't do enough. Just a 1-for-1, it doesn't even matter. Maybe you Swords Lord and you live 1 turn extra.
I mean,
that's probably about it.
Yeah, the ideal scenario is you're on the play and you Swords their turn 1 mana creature. I think that's the most powerful use of Swords in this matchup. After that, it probably just doesn't matter anymore.
Yes, that's. I can't remember what it's called, but it's the card in the bottom right corner.
Mm-hmm.
That it gives all creatures protection from the color of your choice until end of turn.
Whoa!
You could bring that in because you just name green, and then everything's unblockable.
Just walk by to have more Elvish Champion effects. Yeah, that's reasonable. I don't know, man. I'm feeling like do some jukes with your shuffling and then present your 60 might be the solution here.
But do you really keep in the Plow Unders and the Armageddons? That's for me that seems like a Phyrexian Furnace situation where a redraw is better than one of those cards. How often is Yeah, maybe on the play, maybe in game 3 if he loses.
Yeah, on the draw, those cards are pretty suspect.
Yeah.
On the play, I think that you could just lights out your opponent like really quickly. Um, yeah, but so we take these out. Well, we don't even have Phyrexian Furnaces. We don't have. So you bring in Collar of the Claw. That's a creature you always just want to draw creatures. Maybe you bring in this Well Wisher to make the game horrible and gain like 1,000,000 life and make everyone hate Magic. I played games like that before.
Yeah, I don't play Elves a lot. I didn't realize this. So Priest of Titania is another symmetrical effect. So it's all Elves in play. So yeah, I was a little confused. I just assumed like I could sort of hear them in the background. They were like agreeing on the amount of mana. I couldn't figure out how
where's this mana coming
Mike was
from?
generating so much, but that's why it's symmetrical.
Wow.
It's all Elves in play.
Wow. So I mean, just like being on the play is just so huge because like the first person to activate Priest of Titania gets all this mana, just ends the game on the spot. Okay. Well, I think that just being on the play is really all that matters. And so as a result, I think that we're going to go to 3 games and Mike's going to be on the play in game 3 and because there's no removal, like that'll just be enough.
Yeah, I don't know. I think explosive draws count for a lot there. So Phil just like dumped his hand, but he didn't have a payoff.
Yeah, it didn't have any action.
And then Mike just absolutely went ham with his Gaia's Cradle, Priest of Titania.
Yeah. So, okay. So once again, we're in this scenario. Our opponent opens with a mana creature. Can we answer? Or we can be 2 turns behind.
All right. Manadork,
yes,
Manadork.
we can. Yes, we can. Okay, Guile.
Priest.
Okay, so this is so horrible. They're like, man, I want to advance my board. I don't want to give my opponent like a free Black Lotus every turn. Oof. I don't think it matters because the guy's Cradle's there, so I feel like Phil's just gonna have enough mana anyway, but it hurts, you know. It's like,
yeah,
can't
it almost feels like an imaginary game that you play with your buddy, where you're just like, let's not worry about mana. Let's just play whatever spells we want and just like forget that lands exist.
All right, so it's the Hive Master.
Hive Master.
Yeah, I feel like the Priest is like the stronger 2-drop than the Hive Master in this scenario.
Insects were impressive last game. I mean, they were going to overrun for like 24 damage or something.
They were. All right, so the question is, you know, maybe Phil kept another hand that was like all mana, no action. Because last game, entire hand was in play at this point.
Good God. Yeah, he has probably like 10 mana this turn. Let's see how many Deranged Hermits he plays.
Right. So earlier we were talking about, you know, Masticore. I was like, I didn't think Masticore, you know, if you just randomly raw dogs to Masticore right now,
it would be insane, right?
Yeah, that the game would just be over.
even if he like survivals for Masticore right now, I think he could still play it and maybe kill one thing. Like,
yeah, you could
that's how much
just pick off like the 2 mana creatures, you know.
Taps for 6 mana casually. Yep, he's gonna play Deranged Hermit. Nope.
No. What's happening? We're thinking.
Oh, he forgot about the symmetrical effect as well.
Oh, yeah. Here, let me spot you this Black Lotus. I'm just that
but
good,
I saw the survival. So this is what I'm saying. Like, he can play Survivor right now. He can.
Yeah.
He can find a Masticore, and he can like take out 1 or 2 things this turn.
Yeah. This could just be GG. Like we go get the Masticore, we shoot down the 2 mana creatures, and
you just stay ahead the rest of the game.
And we're, you know, casting Demonic Tutor every turn, so it's not like we won't have anything to do with our mana. And wow. Yeah, these games, you know, I thought that there might be a board stall, but I don't think I'm gonna have to revise that statement. Like once one player executes their plan, the other player instantly dies, apparently. Yeah, we don't need this Elvish champion. That card's for squares, you know?
It's kind of a liability, especially when you're trying to Masticore stuff down.
It's way better to have this card that untaps our creature that taps for bazillion mana. That's much better. I don't want to play anymore. This game's stupid. What's on TV? What's on TV?
All right, do the value play of of oh god. Okay, never mind. I said that Masticore could kill a thing or two. He's gonna
yeah,
wipe
yeah, we got the
Mike's board. That's it.
this is just lights out. Uh, it feels so bad. So we're just, like, I guess we're just going for the flawless victory here. We're just gonna like kill all non-land permanents.
Exactly. Keep him from doing anything.
Wow.
9 mana, shoot all your stuff. Yep.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
seems
Creatures. You don't have creatures. You don't have... Yeah.
Mike naively asking, which creatures are you killing?
Yes. Yes.
All of them.
All this. Hmm. All right. Are we putting the creatures in the graveyard, or are we going to game 3? Because I mean, we are going to game 3. It's just,
Yeah.
how much punishment. At this point, if this was a prize fight, I would be throwing in the towel to protect my fighter.
Yeah, right.
Think about the next fight. I don't need you like forgetting what day of the week it is. But
no, Mike's gonna fight through it.
Yeah, Mike's got the will of the warrior. He's gonna play some more creatures into the Masticores again. I draw a card off this creature. I don't care about actually, you do. That creature, put it in the graveyard.
End of turn, Masticore your creature. I don't care.
Yeah, don't care.
This is what I'm saying. Just like survival is so busted. It can just like find the silver bullet, and man, is Masticore a silver bullet for the Elves deck.
Yeah. All right, so we've got all this mana. We're gonna Genesis back something to discard to the Masticore.
To discard to Masticore, exactly.
Really at this point, nothing matters. I'd love to say that there's a way out of this like chokehold on the game, but there isn't.
Yeah, nothing matters. Eat Arby's. There's really no point to any of this.
Yeah, we'll take some game actions. To prove how these work, but yeah. All right, so yeah, when you have a hand of mana and threats, if you're on the play, the game just ends on like turn 3. Especially this Priest of Titanic card, man, that's goofy.
Yeah, completely. I mean, it's very good, but it is absolutely bonkers in the mirror, and it doesn't. I don't know, like it just I think you keep them in. You have to keep them in. It'd be really weird to take them
especially
out like
on
the draw or something. Yeah, on the play. Yeah, I like it because it's making these games end quickly. Like you're saying, like kind of expected a board stall, expected these long grindy games, combat math. No, whoever gets infinite mana wins the game. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So maybe Elves will be a victim of his own success. Like all the Priest of Titania decks will just knock each other out because. All right, come on. Yeah, we're just like this is Mortal Kombat. Like finish him. Like we're just like. The other guy's like uppercut. Yeah, we're just overrunning all our stuff. All our stuff. Yeah, we would love to see these sweet Onslaught legendary creatures running around. Of course, my favorite was Arcanus the Omnipotent.
That's a sweet ancestral recall every turn.
Yeah,
seems totally fine.
He also bounces himself back to your hand for some bizarre reason. But the one that actually gave me tournament success was Rorik's Blade Ring, who's just like a hasty flying creature.
I love that card. You could play that in standard goblins. You just they blow up all your goblins. You just play a 6/5 flyer and win the game.
Yeah, nice Pyroclasm. Yeah, like my first tournament success was playing Reanimator, and so your primary Reanimator target was Akroma, Angel of Wrath. But if you didn't draw that hasty flyer, you went for the poor man's second and Rorik's them. All right, so we're going to game 3. Mike is going to be on the play. So I feel like if you have Priest of Titania in your hand, it's like a snap keep.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think this I think he's got a good chance. Survival is a hell of a card, but he who untaps with Priest of Titania may win the game. So
this is the thing to note is the way. Also, we don't know how Mike is sideboarded. Like now that we're on the play, like this Armageddon plow under package might be much more relevant. Whereas on the draw, like at that game, think about that game. At no point were those cards ever going to do anything.
No. I
So
kind of don't. I'm really skeptical of them, especially when my
mm,
opponent is on survival. Like Plow Under is an interesting play because you like time walk them twice. You know, you make them redraw lands. But when they can just survival away those lands,
yeah,
and you know, if your opponent has a Priest of Titania, how relevant is Plow Under or Armageddon? They just don't
yeah,
seem.
they only seem relevant on turn 3. So
Yeah,
because of that, I feel like you have them all in your deck, so you can maximize your chance of turn 3 of them, or you have none of them. If that makes any sense.
yeah. I might like. I would. Okay, so I would want to cite out all 6 of those cards. Bring in 2 callers, the protection card,
Okay, stealth
maybe
play.
maybe the naturalizes for survival, like just hope that you get.
Mm,
I mean, it's yeah,
that's
survival
that's
can do a lot of damage in one turn, but like maybe you get lucky and you naturalize their survival and they keep an awkward hand hoping that survival will get them there. I don't know. I think naturalize is better than Armageddon.
better than Armageddon. Yeah, we shall see. Yeah, they're both those cards are like conditionally good. So which conditional card do you want?
Right.
So now that we've seen that play out, I definitely feel like the survival build is the more abstractly powerful build.
Oh
But
yeah,
I
absolutely.
I feel like yeah, it's just whoever taps the Priest of Titania untaps the Priest of Titania first is probably going to win. You know,
Yeah, agree. I mean, yeah, Mike can have super busted draws that just don't need survival. Like survival is can kind of be a win more card in elves if you've already got all the stuff that you need in hand. You know, you can just have a deranged hermit and a priest of Titania and just have all of the things that you need. Um, so you know, he can definitely win without it, but
yeah,
if it goes
as we
to a
saw.
long game, I'm going with the survival deck
For
every
sure,
time.
if,
Like,
if it goes to a long game, I think the survival deck is favored. But I'll mention that none of these games have been long. All these
no,
games I think have like functionally ended turn 3.
yeah,
So that'd be pretty wild. Like I think the only way we have a long game is if like both players mulligan to 5 and stumble around or something. But if they keep functional hands because neither of them has any removal, um, the games will very quickly come to a conclusion.
all right. So it looks like the last game of this league is starting. This is exciting, Woodrow.
Whoa! Was that land pass? What is this real life? Does this really
Man,
happen? Wow. All right. Well, this turn 2 player better be Priest of Titania. Like, this is the only way this makes any sense. And it's important to note that the reply was Birchler Ranger is not an actual mana elf, though, of course, the Birchler will be able to attack for mana next turn. There's just no way it wouldn't. All right. So we've got the Priest. Okay.
a
So
foil signed priest at that.
there's no way another elf isn't coming to play. So this priest will be tapping for a minimum of 3 mana next turn, probably 4 or 5. Uh, so yeah, if we plow under now, if our turn 3 play is plow under, whoa, attack? Okay, Pendlehaven, sure, yeah, I'll take one. The games are not about this at all. Okay, yeah, we have to play elves. That's what our deck does.
Oh baby, all right.
Yeah. All right.
So
Yeah.
I agree with you. Plow under is actually very good here.
Yeah.
I
If,
agree.
if this turn is plow under, that's pretty strong. Though once again, the Korean Ranger kind of borks plow under being great. Bounce the
Yeah,
forest.
true.
So never mind. Plow under. This card is obviously unplayable. Okay. All right. Is this Gaia's Cradle? Was that was played?
Guy's
So
Cradle, yep.
all right. Impress us. What do you got? You've got all the mana in the world.
Interesting. Tapping priest to start. That means he has no low cost elves in
Weird.
his hand.
That is not. Yeah. If I had a 1 or 2 mana elf, it's free to play here. No.
A
Well
well
Wisher.
wisher.
Why don't we just
Okay.
lead with the Well Wisher and get the rebate? But whatever. What are we doing? More Priest of Titania. So got like a
So
zillion
that's nice.
mana.
That's a nice combo. So like Mike's gonna mana burn for a whole bunch with his double priest, and he can gain that life back with a well wisher. That's a nice.
Okay, symbiote. Yep. Okay, so we don't really care. We can just, you know, untap our priest and just keep going off. But we're just gonna pass.
Uh, So this is kind
Huh.
of the inverse of game one, where Phil played all of the little dorks and then did not have a payoff. Mike's in the same situation, and he doesn't have survival to top
Right.
deck
He
to just like
has.
totally get him back in this game. So he's just living off the top of his deck for the rest of the
He
game.
does have more copies of Sylvan Messenger to help out, but this, yeah, this bodes ill. Even though gaining a bunch of life with the Well Wisher is cool.
Yeah, but see, okay, so now Phil has
Yeah.
survival. He can,
But no Cradle or Priest, so he doesn't have
yeah, but
unlimited
he can
mana.
survival for a priest.
That's true, but that's like all these plays are like on suspend. What are we doing? Oh, what? We have an instant.
I
Are we
think
going to
I think he
naturalize
might
the
be
survival?
naturalizing.
Okay, that would be
I think he might be
really.
naturalizing. Yes.
Yeah, tag the survival. This is big game.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to get one more act. Okay, well, because Phil is just running hot. He's got the two guys he wants to pitch to the graveyard naturally in hand. So this isn't the end of the world, but so
Right.
and we get to bounce a land and untap. So one of these has to be for Priest of Titania, so we can catch up on mana.
Yeah.
And the other one, I mean,
I don't know, deranged hermit, something
Mastercore,
meaty.
Mastercore plus
Masticore,
Priest
yeah,
could probably
Masticore,
just be good
Masticore.
enough. If Mike doesn't have a payoff next turn, he'll just play some more 1/1s, and you can just clean him up with the Mastercore.
Yeah, what am I saying? Masticore is always going to be the correct search.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yep,
I
yep,
think it's
yep, yep.
Priest plus Masticore.
Yep, yep.
Wow,
All right.
Woodrow, you're so you must be like reading people's minds. How do you do this? All right, yeah. Now we're just set up for next turn with like a bazillion mana plus Masticore, and we can shoot the symbiote and then pick off these elves. And the fact that the Well Wisher gained us a bunch of life is just gonna be irrelevant because we just won't have any creatures for the rest of the game. So this is it. We need big plays.
Mike not too happy with the top of his deck. See, yeah, this is what I expected would
Yeah,
happen. Like you just the survival deck get survival in play, they get Masticore, they just
yeah.
completely nuke
It's
the
like
other.
one activation was enough to get the Masticore.
I don't think gaining life is going to be relevant.
Yeah, just prolongs the beating.
Yeah, so okay, so like I would actually bring in swords here,
Yeah, just
especially to replace Armageddon, just to hit the Masticore. I think that's
yeah.
worth it. That's totally
I
worth it.
I think so. Yeah, the way these games have played out, because yeah, otherwise your opponent just has this like very easy road to victory. I have a bunch of mana. I get the Masticore. Nothing you do matters anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
The game is like the only way that I think that Mike could get back in this is if he has another naturalize and Phil doesn't keep up 2 mana to regenerate Masticore. That's
that's
the
hard.
only way that I could see that this game turning around.
That's hard to do because of the Quirion Ranger. So even if he
Yeah,
taps all his
exactly.
mana and does nothing, it's like, well, Quirion Ranger, I've got the mana back now. All right, so we're putting a bunch of mana in the pool. No, we just bounced a guy back to our hand and passed. And now we just won't have creatures anymore.
Yeah, take that Masticore. You can't kill my
Yeah,
creatures if I don't
yeah.
play any.
I'm hiding my creatures in my hand. That's yeah. This Masticore is kind of like a big bully, or like
That's what
everybody's
I'm
out
saying, man.
doing
Like
stuff. They're doing happy elf stuff, keeping it cool in the forest, and Masticore just like shows up and commits genocide.
yeah.
Yeah, we're just going off. This Priest of Titania. Yeah, this reminds me of like multiplayer games you play as kids, where your Priest of Titania tap for like 20 mana. You're like, this is so silly. All right, 13 mana. I don't know. Is that enough mana? We're gonna find out. I'll respond by gaining some life. I'll just tell you, Mr. Masticore. Sure thing, buddy.
All right, he gains an irrelevant 6 life.
Yes. All right, we're gonna put the Well Wisher back in our hand. Sure, that is also acceptable to the Master Core. Wow, what is? I mean, there's really no reason to play any other creatures here, but sure, let's play the Sylvan Messenger. Why not? Why?
Oh, he did. He has the swords. He has the swords.
What is happening?
This is a game. This is a game.
No.
All right. It's not a great game. I think he still
He's still
loses,
so
but
far behind,
yeah,
but you're not
but
just
he's
locked out forever.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, we're gonna lose our board. The Master Core is gonna be gone, and we get to keep playing. We're pretty far behind.
Pretty far behind. I like this though.
Yeah, the game continues.
Man, do you like? I would, if I had enough mana, I might actually consider killing the Master Core with itself, so it goes to the graveyard and doesn't get swords.
That would have, yeah. There's a Genesis here. I actually would have. Yes, I think.
Yeah, so we should make sure that if it did get sword, because I don't think it killed itself. So it should be exiled.
Yeah, because it killed itself. That would have been like one creature died.
Oh, it did kill itself. It did kill itself. Okay.
Okay. There's more mana running around than we thought. Okay.
I think that play totally makes sense because that's like.
Yeah. All right. Well, in that case,
that's it.
Okay. Well, we had a plan, good plan. We thought about it, but because there's so much mana running around, we can definitely get the Master Core back. Just next turn, we can get the Master Core back and have plenty of ammunition to keep the game on lock. So we need a like Tormod's Crypt right now to crypt the Master Core. One-time dealer, Tormod's Crypt.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, just all the levels.
He's like, I'll Tormod's Crypt you, and then I'll just die to all of these elves. Okay, well.
Yeah. Then I'll die to the slow but steady beatdown of 1/1 creatures. All right, still making plays.
He should Armageddon here to send a message.
Yeah, we need. Man, there's just no outs. It's like even like Tabernacle of Pendrell Vale like doesn't do anything because of these stupid Priests of Titania.
Yeah.
Hello.
So Mike is saying he has an out here.
Okay.
I wonder what that out is.
I do as well. I mean, clearly Mike has thought about it. Had the swords, had the naturals. There's a game plan is in effect here, but it's going to need to happen pretty soon.
Yes, very soon. I literally do not see what the out is, but
I'm gonna go check to see if there's randomly like Wrath of God in his sideboard or something.
I don't see it. I do not see it. So Phil sounds very dejected that he can't just kill Mike this turn with his 11 mana or
it's rough.
However much he has.
Yeah.
Seven
doing
mana
something.
for...
Okay, so we've got Wirewood Symbiote plus Elvish, the Sylvan Messenger. Sadly, so if we hit Elvish Champion, we could just force walk through because they're assuming that's still in the deck. Leaving on Elvish Champion is perfectly reasonable because you're the survival deck. It can be conditionally bad, but I'd leave one in. But you can't hit, Kamal Fizzicroza because he's a Hume. So we're just going to play out some dorks. You just put some more green creatures into the play.
So he's going the beatdown, not even worrying about
Yeah.
playing Masticore on his first main phase. Still has Gaia's Cradle, so he could play it in his second main phase if he wanted to.
All right, and we're looking. There's only one swords in the 75, so you can play
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
naked Masticore and not worry about getting got by this like Phantom Swords of Plowshares. Like that's already happened.
Yeah. He doesn't. It looks like he doesn't even. He's not even bothering playing
Yeah.
it.
Uh,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
it. That's all they wrote.
That's it, folks. Masticore. Strangely, when your opponent's deck is all 1/1 creatures, Masticore is very good.
Yeah.
Is there like a null rod that we? Yeah, there's no null rod in the sideboard. That actually would have been sweet. Just stop the Masticore that way.
I was saying Steely Resolve would have done.
Okay, Steely Resolve, and then the Masticore can't shoot your creatures.
Yeah, sure, but like
Sure,
he's still so
sure.
far behind.
Yeah,
Even if he draws that as the quote unquote out, like he's still way
just
behind.
loses to like the motley crew of beatdown, including the fact
Yeah.
that the Masticore is a 4/4 creature, which is huge when all creatures are 1/1s.
And it can regenerate even if like you chop
Yeah.
multiple creatures.
All right. So survival elves, I definitely feel like in a fair matchup, the survival deck is more powerful. Against unfair decks, having the Armageddon is really helpful. Also, if your opponent is playing land still, Armageddon is just GG. But I feel like
Yeah,
the
definitely.
survival elves deck is probably good against land still anyway. Like survival defense is such a powerful card.
Well, yeah, right. I mean, it's like, survival is easy to beat for a land still deck if you really just, if you're like on Full English Breakfast, where if you counter the survival, that's all
Yeah,
they're
their deck
doing.
just like not doing anything.
Right. It's a lot different when it's like, oh, I actually have all of these other threats and plus this other insane card that you absolutely have to counter, and maybe you've already run through all your other counters, countering my Priest of Titania or whatever.
Yeah, get got by Collar of the Claw when you're at. There's a lot of tricksy business going. Uh, let's hear from showrunner and see if we're going to do a quick interview with Phil, the champ, or if we're just going to call it right now. Okay. So I will say we had some thoughts in our mind about how the matchup might come down to like some combat math or some sort of weird beatdown package, and that is not what happened at all. Like,
Yeah, I kind of thought that until I was like, oh yeah, survival Masticore. Okay, the survival Masticore deck is probably going to win this.
yeah, or someone's just going to cast Overrun and just like one shot their opponent. And that was basically how it played out.
Okay, so we should mute in OBS. Okay.
Won't we have like feedback if we have both of those open? Okay. All right.
Let's go for it.
All right. We're gonna try and make this interview happen here.
So Phil, congratulations, man. Yeah, what was your how did you decide on Elves as the deck that you would play for this league?
So playing in Cleveland, I've played a couple of the middle school events here pre-pandemic in person, and I've always played Survival and Cradles, but I was playing a blue-red, and I wanted to mix that up a little bit, and I picked up the 4 Deranged Hermits recently, and I was like, I really want to play 4 Deranged Hermits, and I want to play Cradles, and I want to play Survival. So those are the guideposts that I had for putting everything else in.
All right. Well, those are some pretty good Magic cards. Deranged Hermit has been. We didn't see a lot of it in these games because it wasn't really about Deranged Hermit, but Deranged Hermit's been very impressive in the games we've seen it played.
Yeah, I was hoping to get a Deranged Hermit against Stu. I think it's really good there.
Yeah, we
with
thought that
cards,
too.
being able to go wide and being able to like use a Cradle, because I was really stuck on mana that game 2 where I wasn't able to keep any creatures in play, and I had 3 Cradles, either in my hand or in play. But I think I pitched it once to Survival, but otherwise I didn't see it in either of the matches tonight.
Yeah.
Did you test this matchup at all?
I thought about it, but I just know that the Masticore is so overwhelming and that he's very limited on the removal that I wasn't too worried about if it was Elves versus Elves. I was much more worried about the Opalesense with my deck, where I think Mike has a much better matchup against Masa than I did.
Yeah, with the Armageddons.
Yeah,
the Armageddons were really good there.
We thought that was kind of the breaker between the two decks. We felt like the Survival deck was definitely better against other fair decks, but the Armageddon version was better against unfair decks because they can't do anything because they have no lands.
Yeah, I totally agree with how good Armageddon is against that style of play.
Did you how many games or how many matches did you lose throughout the league, and what did you lose to?
My one loss was the Opalesense list that Masa has. Yeah, I was able to beat a Parallax Wave control deck early on, and then otherwise I played against Galen, who lost the win-in last week, and then I played Brad on stream, and then a couple other, but I can't remember by now.
All right. So the real question is, do you think that you lost, I believe it was game 1, do you think you lost it because there was a foil guy's cradle on the other side of the table?
Yeah, I did not have an engine that we both mulliganed, and I was like, oh, I can play all my cards on turn 2, just not thinking, oh, I can play all my cards and then he can make 800 mana off of his priests, and he had something to do with his mana and I did not.
Right. Yeah. And none of the cards that you played were like backbreaking. Like you didn't play multiple deranged hermits or anything. You played some like little dorks that you needed like a survival, or you needed some kind of payoff there.
Yeah, like I would have loved to put down a turn 2 deranged hermit, or just cast a nice turn 3 biorhythm against just 1 or 2 creatures and swing in.
Did you take out the biorhythms for games 2 and 3?
I did. Mike didn't. He was saying that he actually had an out in that game 3 when I tapped out on like turn 3 or 4 to pitch cards to the survival and then cast the priest. So if he had drawn his biorhythm that turn, he could have cast it and had 2 attackers to put me down to 0.
Ooh.
Yeah. I felt that Mike should have left the biorhythms in because your deck in these fair matches is abstractly more powerful. So you need to get like these weird angle edge scenarios like biorhythm to sneak one out. So that's pretty reasonable on Mike's part.
Yeah, no, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, you probably have better cards to put in, especially like your one of creatures, that you can survival. I was thinking a pretty funny play could be like you play Masticore, you wipe out his board, and then you play Biorhythm. Like that would be that'd be pretty funny.
Yeah,
probably not the best thing to count on.
The ultimate win more. I've killed all your creatures and I've dominated the board. Now play my 8-mana sorcery.
What I really should have done in game 2 is used Kamal on his lands to turn them into creatures, and then use Masticore to kill them. Which would have left him with no creatures and with no lands.
That game was really close, so I felt like you missed a lot of value on that
one. Yeah, not so much, but
so we saw a really dominating performance. We had the all elf finals. Do you have any metagame predictions for the next league? What do you say to people who might be afraid of elves? Do you think that the cat's out of the bag and the deck isn't good when it's a known quantity? Any thoughts for the future of elves in middle school?
I mean, I think elves is really great. I know some people disagree and they don't like Cradle in elves, and they think you don't need, because when I was talking with other Cleveland people on Team Sirius and just on the message board they were just like 4 Cradles is just too much, and you do have those hands where you draw 3 Cradles, or you look at your initial 7 and it's not there. But I do think it's just so strong and resilient. But ancillary hate like Tormod's Crypt can slow it down. There's so much hate for enchantments in the format. You saw I got naturalized pretty early. I only got 2 demonic tutors off of it, which
yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Only 2.
You had the
You just
Sligh
get-
and
you
the
get
Genesis like already
Yeah.
in your hand, so it was like no big deal.
Yeah, a little lucky with that, but and I really like the Genesis Spore Frog combo. I think those are the 2 cards I brought in against Mike. But I think Elves is good, but I don't think it's necessarily the only thing. It's just I like making a lot of mana, and I think it's a nice deck to play when I'm in a work meeting and I have my Zoom call off, and I'm just trying to goldfish as quick as possible.
Yeah, right. And it's like it's incredibly resilient too with survival. I think without survival it's a very good deck, but it can just get like, wrathed out of the game. But getting the recurring squee every turn, getting Genesis going as well. You can
Or
just
like
kind of like fight through anything.
if your opponent's like not paying attention, they wrath and you're like, I will tutor up the Caller of the Claw, and like, it's just like got him, and they're like, oh, this is awful, I don't want to play anymore.
Yeah, the Color of the Claw was real big in game 1 against Stu.
Yeah, he was
I-
trying to lock you out of creatures, and then suddenly you had 3 creatures in play, and that was just off the table.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
thanks for
yeah.
broadcasting this and for hosting, and really great to play with all the various middle schoolers out there. I think all of my opponents were fantastic to play with. So.
And I got to say, we were talking about this, about masticoring your own masticore to get around the swords. And we weren't sure if you did it or not, but very big fan of that play. Just like masticore is I mean, you didn't end up casting it again, which I think is reasonable considering how many threats you had in play. Like totally makes sense. But like such a key to the matchup, you just like wanted in the graveyard to get it back with Genesis.
Yeah, that's why I was going through the math of trying to get all of the mana. And once I had all of the mana, I figured I could do whatever I wanted to there.
Magic usually works that way, yes. Except in game 1 where you had all the mana, played all of your cards, and then like Elvish Lyricist was not what was hot.
Yeah, no, it's not great, and I didn't actually sideboard that because I don't have a good card to bring in, and maybe he has Daily Resolve. But yeah, not the most opportune card for that match.
Yeah, but both of you, I felt, didn't have a lot to bring in to like fundamentally change how the matchup would play out. So yeah, okay, that's the real tech Elves players. We did find like silver bullets in the Elf mirror. I don't know. I think if you're playing angry survival Elves, I think that's a pretty big deal, because we were talking about some of these games where someone was behind, and if they had access to hasty Elves, they could come back. But typically, once you get behind, you could never come back because your opponent was always just snowballing ahead of you. There's a thought.
Great. Well, thank you. I got to go on. My computer battery is dying here, so I think it's about to lose power. So have a great night, and thank you again.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for the games.
Yeah. Congrats again, man.
All right. You saw it here. Elves, green creatures dominate. People who love blue were really sad. I'm going to go have a beer. I hope everyone had a great Thursday and enjoyed the stream.
Good night, everybody.